let's say you are in a situation, and this is a hypothetical situation. Let's say you are living with your girlfriend and you come home late every single day, and she seems upset. You've come home late every single day for about 2 weeks now, and you've started to have this feeling that something's wrong. And then, about maybe 10 days into it, you come home late again, and she's at the door and she has her arms crossed. Then she asks you a question. She asks you, "Why do you keep coming home late?" What is your response? That's my question to you. What is your response? Now, I've asked this specific question to multiple people that I've coached and just friends in general, right? I came up with this situation was because a lot of my friends who are married, mostly guys, had a response that wasn't optimal. Now, when I ask people for their answer, most people's response is, well, I explain myself. If she asks me why do I keep coming home so late, and she looks upset, I tell her why I keep coming home so late. And that reason could be because work keeps demanding it of me. You already knew that work keeps demanding it of me, or traffic is bad, you know, and it could be something that she already knew, right? Or it could be a really good reason, like, every single day I've like come like on my way home, there's like a puppy that's about to get run over by a car, so I have to go and like save that puppy, and then I get hit by a car. You might have like a really good reason. You could be Superman and be saving people's lives. But I think, in my opinion, I think whatever your answer is going to be most of the time, it's going to be the wrong answer. That is the wrong reply. So if she has her arms crossed, she is upset looking, and she asks you, after all this time of you coming home late, why are you coming home late? Right? Your response to explain things is the wrong response. It's the suboptimal response. In my opinion, and in my experience, I've found the best response isn't to explain yourself. Now, I know this sounds like avoidance or whatever, but here's the reason why. Because when you start to explain yourself, the first word that comes out of most people's mouths is I. That's the pivotal word, right? She's the one who's upset. She asks you for an explanation, right? But you start the conversation, your side of the conversation, with I. Well, I am late because of this reason. I have been asked by my boss to stay later than usual, or I had to save a dying puppy, or something like that. Now, what is the issue with this? Again, this isn't a hard rule, but it's just something to think about. And it's something that not a lot of people think about, but it's really, really important. What happens is that there are two things. There are two huge factors in this. One, she is upset. And then two, you begin your next sentence with I. What is actually happening here? You have transitioned the focus of the conversation, which is her being upset, to you and your explanation. So instead of identifying and articulating her emotions and her feelings and her thoughts, right? You have quite literally shifted the conversation to you. I know this seems like I'm overthinking stuff, but this applies to so many things. This is a very extreme hypothetical, right? But the point is, you have made her emotions about you. You turned it into I. So, what is an alternate solution to this, right? What is a more optimal solution? So, there are a couple, but the main mentality is that you try to make her feel heard. And this is something that I teach a lot of coaches and even players and just people who have interpersonal relationships, right? And want to improve at that. All you do is you take a guess at what they are trying to tell you, or things that they haven't said, or their feelings. Basically, you just take a guess. You throw a dart at the dartboard, and you don't say it with I. You don't say, I think you're mad. right? Because again, you're making it about yourself. You begin with you. And I know this sounds crazy for anybody who's gone to therapy, because the therapists always say, well, you should begin with I feel statements. I feel like you're mad at me, right? But again, that's not like this isn't therapy. This is a relationship, right? You're not making it about you. You're making it about her. So you have to prioritize the other person to feel heard. So you begin with you. That is the first thing that you can do. You can say, you feel angry or you seem upset. And then you just shut up and you let them talk. Okay? And there's a more neutral way you can say this instead of saying you, right? If you're feeling not so confident and you just want to take a guess, you can say you, instead of saying you seem upset, you could flip that around and says, it seems like you're upset, or you sound like you're upset, right? Or it sounds like you're upset. It and you are much safer options and much more effective options than I. Now we can get into the psychology of this and like go into some more deeper stuff, but that's the practical rule, or rule of thumb, I should say. So instead of saying I and responding with I to somebody who's upset, you really want to try your best to articulate what the other person is saying, right? And not just articulate it, but just take a guess. Now, the reason why I say guess is because you're most likely going to get it wrong on the first guess. It's like, again, if you're trying to hit a dart onto a dartboard and you're trying to get the bullseye, most likely you're not going to get the bullseye in the first time. So if they say, no, that's not how I feel, and they start correcting you, you should not feel defensive. You might feel defensive, right? But actually, them correcting you is a sign of collaboration. It is a good thing. If they're saying, no, 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 you got it wrong, and then they start telling you how you got it wrong, that is a good thing. Now you're both working together. It is no longer about sides. It is about collaboration. It's like, no, 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 you're wrong. You hit the dart too far to the right. You need to move your dart a little bit more to the left. And then you throw it again, and they're like, no, 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 no. That's closer, but you need to get a little bit closer to the left, right? And then you throw it again, and then you hit a bullseye. And then once they feel, right, and once they communicate that you've articulated or even guessed correctly what they're trying to tell you, right, then you can start talking about yourself. Or most of the time, I'm going to be honest, most of the time you don't even need to give your explanation about why you're coming home late, right? Because the real problem isn't the fact that you're coming home late. It's the fact that your girlfriend in front of you is upset. I'm not saying you coming home late isn't a problem, but the problem relevant to that situation is the fact that your girlfriend is upset. Now, again, we can go into the psychology of this, but I just want to keep it kind of short and just focus on the practical side. So try to focus on the other person. This applies to sales. This applies to, getting upgrades at the airport. This applies to relationships. This applies to teammates, to coaches, to players, to everything. This will improve the quality of your conversations and probably your life. Hope that helps.